This is how it always begins.
It was easier when I thought the conductor was some heartless robot thing. But now I know she's a person and she's hurt. And she's running away from the changes in her life.
We've been doing it wrong. We can still change.
Why would I ever want to change if I'm always right?
Oh, choices. And choices lead to lessons. And what were you learning exactly?
Reading didn't work. You can mess up even if you stand still.
Sometimes numbers are a part of the problem, not the solution, you know?
It helps to say goodbye.
So HBO Max just released the new season of Infinity Train, Cartoon Network's anthology series that has pushed the boundaries of storytelling in Western animation, delivering an immersive experience for anyone of all ages to enjoy, but especially young adults, in an effort to destigmatize animation and pave the way for the future where projects being made in Western animation rival the range and diversity of anime. After all, competition breeds innovation. Set on a never-ending train in a pocket dimension where each car is a brand new universe, the series has tackled heavier themes such as divorce, empathy, narcissism, identity, and so much more. Oh, and people die. A lot. With a series that began as a viral online pilot, amassing a dedicated fanbase from the jump that's only grown more and more with each installment, you would imagine Cartoon Network's jumping at the chance to capitalize on this by greenlighting the remaining 4 seasons the team behind the show wanted, right?
No.
They f***ing canceled it. A little bit ago, I made a video on Infinity Train's cancellation. But since the release of that video, not only have we gotten the de facto final season, Book 4, Duet, but we've got more information centered around the reasoning behind the show's cancellation, straight from the creator, Owen Dennis. And it's exactly as I feared. The asinine reason for leaving the show in the dust is for no other reason than the fact that the series is considered too mature. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't kiddie enough. And the bigger insult to injury is that we have confirmation that they were working on more when they were canceled. There is a full script written for the next season. Or it would have been a whole ass movie, I guess.
My disappointment is immeasurable. And my day is ruined.
And after watching Book 4, I gotta say, Cartoon Network really fucked them over. Especially because it's a streaming show. So not only am I going to touch on why canceling the show, especially now, is Cartoon Network's biggest mistake, but I'm going to argue why Infinity Train deserves an ending, and how we're going to make an ending happen. So was the show really canceled for not being kiddie enough? I mean, yeah, it sounds like it. Initially, Owen addressed the cancellation in his newsletter. Owen, why the fuck wasn't the show picked up? I don't know, dude. They never told me. I have educated guesses, and I certainly have a few opinions to share. Ask me again in the future when I have more job security and I'm feeling less pain. But as near as I can tell, what Cartoon Network wants right now isn't what Infinity Train is giving. This isn't to say that Infinity Train can never come back. We live in an age where IP is everything. I've often said to my friends, I wish that we made Infinity Train 20 years ago so that we could get more made right now, because that's all that most studios are picking up. Give it 10 years or so, and maybe we'll see more Infinity Train as a new wave of nostalgia takes over the industry. But in the meantime, the show has been canceled. On that note, you might notice that people avoid saying the word canceled. The reason is that the word is harsh and often prompts a big backlash. Instead, euphemisms will be used like, it's on an indefinite hiatus, or it's just not picked up, or it's a spirit of life, it has kicked the bucket, it has ceased to be. All of them mean the same thing. There are no more episodes coming, no one is working on the show, and there are no plans to make more. This was not the intended ending for the show, and in fact, we were working on more when we were canceled. I can talk more about what else we wanted to do and where we were in production on future seasons after Book 4 airs. Luckily, it is a self-contained story, just like all the seasons before it, so I guarantee you're still going to have a great time watching. I don't know what the future holds, but I'd love to make more Infinity Train. Maybe someday I'll become a millionaire and I can buy the rights back to the show. Maybe someday I can convince the new head of Cartoon Network, who saw and loved Infinity Train when they were a kid, to make more of the show. Maybe someday we'll all be living in some kind of hyper-communistic state where all intellectual properties are released into the public domain. Who knows? And to coincide with the release of Book 4, Owen also hosted an AMA on the Infinity Train subreddit, where he teased some things concerning the future of the show that for right now are going to remain unfulfilled. such as the fact that when they were canceled, they wrote the next installment, Book 5, in its entirety. But the script will likely never be released, and we won't get any concrete plot details until the creator has completely given up hope. Good thing we're going to find out by watching these on our television screens, right? We got a 2 truths and a lie about the next installment. Someone was gonna commit murder. We found out the themes for the remaining seasons. We found out there was going to be a season about someone who didn't want to leave the train. We found out that the final season was going to touch on Alzheimer's, loosely inspired by an autobiography that the creator's grandfather wrote when he was slowly succumbing to it. But I guess the big shots say we don't need to see that. But the biggest takeaway for me was this. We wrote an Infinity Train movie. It was season 5. They passed on it though because they thought it didn't have a child entry point. The show is over and no one is working on making any more of it. I'd love to make more, but it's not what Cartoon Network wants to make right now. It's very unfortunate. However, maybe someday it'll change. Many shows have come back after they've been canceled because of fan engagement. So anything is possible as long as fans exist. Because it didn't have a child entry point. Never mind that the protagonists for the last 2 seasons were 18-year-olds. And the child entry character for one of them is, well, spoiler alert, a clone? I get the idea, but it's asinine when this book was set up to be about 2 characters who the audience would have already known. Characters who have had a presence in some way, shape, or form in every season of the show. If I was a kid, that's exactly the kind of season I would have wanted. Now, this really isn't just a Cartoon Network thing. More and more showrunners have been vocal about how a lot of major animation studios are firm about marketing their animated series to children, when the people behind the scenes want to shoot for a teenage crowd or older.
Yeah, I definitely pitched my show as a, PG-13, 13 to young adult area, which doesn't exist in TV for no reason.
But it's so asinine for Cartoon Network when it's an animation channel that's always known to have an adult audience. That was part of the reason why the Powerpuff Girls movie was so dark. And you could argue the failure of that movie swayed them in the wrong direction. They know an adult audience never really went away, which is why they capitalized on their adult audience with shows like Adventure Time, Regular Show, and Steven Universe. Adult fans have always been a silent backbone of the network, but obviously they've been releasing less and less shows that adults connect with. I know Gumball and Craig the Creek have adult viewers, but one's been over for quite some time, and the other premieres its episodes on cable. Infinity Train became an HBO Max exclusive, and unlike cable packages, streaming services are purchased by an array of viewers. Whether if you're a teenager in high school, a college student, an adult with a full-time salary, or yeah, a kid who has a tailored kid's profile on their parents' account. But for this exact reason, the notion of a streaming show catering to one particular demographic absolutely does not work. Could you imagine if Stranger Things was considered just a kid's show, or just an adult show? Or if The Mandalorian was? Or WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier? The list goes on. The biggest shows on streaming right now are watched by all ages. So really? Infinity Train is the perfect tentpole show for Cartoon Network on HBO Max. It feels like an HBO show. From the writing, to the music, to the voice acting, the direction, storyboarding, composition, all of it. And by pulling the plug this soon, not only are they crippling the chances of its fan base having continued growth, and thus more exposure, more fans, another show that has people forking over $15 a month, but they are aiding their competition. And not just the Goliath Western animation should be worrying about on streaming, anime, but another Western animated show on a rival platform that was in a very similar situation like Infinity Train, The Dragon Prince. Much like Infinity Train, The Dragon Prince isn't trying to be a kid's show. The Dragon Prince embraces the notion that animation is for everyone. And just like Infinity Train, it can get dark as fuck, which doesn't innately make it good or a godsend, but it's used in a way to add real weight and tension to situations, like Infinity Train. It has insane world building like Infinity Train. It has great voice acting like Infinity Train. Each season is called books like Infinity Train. And guess what? They thought their third outing was going to be the last in 2019. But last year, Netflix decided to pick it up for the remainder of their planned season. seasons. It's literally the same situation Infinity Train is in. So by canceling this show, Cartoon Network is telling consumers of HBO Max, if you want more of this, you gotta go to Netflix, because that's where you'll be getting it. They are directly sending people to their competition. Congratulations! You are really helping AT&T get out of that debt. I think it just goes to show they're really not paying as much attention to the landscape and their competition as they should be. Again, competition breeds innovation. As soon as the Dragon Prince got their full series pickup, Cartoon Network should have matched that energy with Infinity Train. But no, new management, they need to make their own legacy. Even though despite its success, Infinity Train really hasn't blown up to its full potential yet, and it's absolutely the kind of show you would want under your legacy, whether if it started under your legacy or not. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy on YouTube who screams into the mic. I don't offer any credible insight as someone who studied these networks since they were a kid or anything. This brings me to Book 4, and how the experience was greatly impacted by the series being canceled. I really enjoyed Book 4, but when I first finished it, I just felt frustration. Not because of the book's quality, but more so because despite this being a self-contained story, it really just feels like an Act 1. It's clear now that the first 3 books of Infinity Train can kind of be categorized as its own saga. And after Book 3 took the series to some really dark places, the crew needed to make something light, which resulted in Book 4 feeling a lot more like Book 1. From the introduction of our characters starting on Earth rather than the train, the lead characters being abducted straight from Earth, much like Tulip in Book 1, to there being lower stakes and simpler goals, going from point A to point B and getting off the train, to comedy having a stronger presence in this season, much like the first book. And all that's fine and dandy, but much like all the other books of Infinity Train, there's groundwork being set for the future. Or in this case, the past. This is where I'm finally gonna issue a spoiler warning for the new season. But Book 4, as speculated, is set in the 80s. Particularly, during Amelia's takeover of the train. Episode 1 ends with a jaw-dropping reveal, without letting us know much at all, that Amelia didn't decide to just overthrow 1-1. Or should I say, 1, as his digital mind wasn't scrambled quite yet. But instead, they had some sort of partnership. And throughout the book, we have moments sprinkled in of Amelia's changes to the train. Initially convincing 1 to give the passengers their clothing back, and later a strong implication that our takeover of the train has begun. And it was way messier on Amelia's end than initially perceived. But we also get to see a huge difference between 1 and 1-1. Before developing the alter egos of Sad 1 and Glad 1, 1 himself seemed detached, cold, and calculated. He lacked not just the empathy, but really all the emotions needed to properly run a train like the Infinity Train.
It is up to them to sort things out.
And if they don't?
Then they die here.
But without Ryan and Min's journey converging with Amelia and 1 in a meaningful way, it just leaves you feeling bitter, because you know this was meant to be followed up on in the next installment. And there's just a lot about this version of the Infinity Train that's off from previous seasons. Namely, the look of the denizens. They're much more anthropomorphic, humanoid. A bulk of these designs are a radical departure from how denizens, particularly animals, were depicted in earlier seasons. And I feel like that was completely by design, no pun intended. I think this is also a strong example of how 1 operated things, and how severe of a shift Amelia's takeover really was. Let's not forget, she was trying to recreate her old life. So I would bet money that Book 5 would have featured a moment where Amelia shifted the appearance of denizens, making them go from this to this. But while Book 4 is fine, and the crew had no way of knowing this would wind up being the last one, but considering how much not only Infinity Train has grown, but HBO Max has grown since August when Book 3 released, I kind of think we needed an intense book to end on. Simply because we know how the internet works. If we had something that topped how Simon died in Book 3, it would have spread like wildfire. And with HBO Max being more accessible in the US than it was before, and international launches coming in June, the show could be trending on the service right now. I'm not in the position to say I would have changed this about Book 4, but a shocking moment would have worked its magic and gave an exponential amount of attention to the show, amping up the chances for a Book 5. So, we'll just have to do that anyways. Infinity Train deserves more. Book 4 cannot be the end. Not when there's already a script written. Not when revivals through streaming are more prominent than ever. Not when this show, and especially its next planned season, is a massive game changer. So here's some things you can do. 1. Share the show with as many people as possible. If you have to go into a shocking spoiler, just go for it. Okay, that's just how I do things, but in my head, they're gonna need the context anyways, and it's gonna be enticing. 2. Make memes. This show is so quotable. There's no reason why Atticus shouldn't be on every dog subreddit as we speak. Hell, Dogecoin is coming up. Atticus is a corgi, may not be the exact same dog, but still a worthy contender. Just keep posting about Infinity Train. Make fan art. Post it on every platform you have. If you have a Twitter, use hashtags like Renew Infinity Train, Finish Infinity Train, and well, just Infinity Train. Make TikToks. TikTok is so powerful, and again, there are just so many good Infinity Train moments that could probably appease the algorithm, become a hit audio, and get mainstream attention. Hell, I'll make a mashup and use it as an audio. I have no music making experience, but I'll go for it. I will make a disgusting amount of Infinity Train TikToks until we get that bad boy on HBO Max trending. We saw the Snyder Cut happen. We will emulate the Snyder Bro energy for as long as possible. Don't let Infinity Train die. Watch it and watch it again. Watch it until you caught every little detail, every ounce of foreshadowing, every nugget of world building. Every book is strong in its own way, but with the strongest being just out of reach, we need to fight until we see that headline that says the series has been renewed and it's coming to our screens. Hell, if Cartoon Network won't renew it, let's see if Adult Swim will. We had Samurai Jack, didn't we? We had Thundercats, Symbiotic Titan, and Beware the Batman Aaron Tanami, haven't we? So why not have Adult Swim pick it up for HBO Max? Or maybe Warner Brothers. I'm ready to go all in. I will get a damn Infinity Train billboard in New York City, in California, LA, baby. I don't care how long it takes. We are getting that book 5. Infinity Train deserves an ending. And I know in terms of an immediate future, like 1 to 2 years, it's gonna have to blow up on HBO Max. If TikTok can get Miraculous trending on Netflix, we can get Infinity Train trending on HBO Max. Share this video, throw it a like, drop a comment, appease the algorithm, spread it like wildfire, but more importantly, spread Infinity Train like wildfire. This video does not need an outro. I'm done. Peace.